Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
Tomorrow is opening day.
This morning, didn't have a great hunt. Deer didn't move like usual.
We just got set up in the middle of this bedding thicket. Been saving this spot from the rut. It's a nice, I think it's a nice buck.
Boom! Hits a 170.
That was money. I think he's down right over there, maybe 10 yards.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy.
Baller rut.
Welcome to Wiped Out Legacy. Still on the air. We got Cade and Brandon from Scrapestick. We met these guys at ATA, kicked it off with them, and they gave us their product spiel, and we liked it a lot. We could see us using it, and we could see the convenience of it for a lot of our listeners that we know. We wanted to have them come on and talk about their product a little bit, and also they run a lot of scrapes. They get a lot of trail camera pictures on scrapes. They had a client kill a 204 off a scrape, so they have a lot of knowledge about that. So we dive in on scrape tactics, and then also dive in on the product and how it enhances scrapes and it makes it more convenient using scrapes. So we're going to get into our partners, and we'll start with the title partner, the VIP Veteran Broadhead. I want to shout out Molly Ogden. I hope I didn't murder her name, but she just got it done on a doe late season. Way to tough it out there, Molly. It's probably cold.
Yeah, it was right before Polar Vortex.
Yeah, so
I think it was Tuesday night, Monday night, the week before.
She said about she's shooting 56 pounds, is 20 yards, went 75 yards, and crashed. So congrats to you for filling the freezer, and congrats to you for doing it late season. That's pretty sweet.
She sat longer than I probably would have on that, I'll tell you that.
So, homie's got the VIP Veteran Broadhead shout-out.
This week's VIP Veteran Broadhead shout-out is Patrick Cornish. He was tagged in our Facebook post, and he was a former hospital corpsman at the United States Marine Corps. So, Patrick, everybody here at Whitetail Legacy salutes you. Everybody from the VIP family, and Matt and Cindy, appreciate your service.
All right, we'll get into scent lock. I was in the hotel the past couple weeks. I will use the Oz 100 in there, and I'll tell you what, if you ever go into a hotel and it just has that funky smell, bro. I mean, I know you've been in one, and it's been like that, and you're like, I don't know what this is, but I'm not really digging it. I ran that Oz 100, wiped it out. So the Oz line is good, not just for hunting, man, but it's good for anything, and I really tested it out, running it while I was at work and coming back, and I'm like, man, it just smells fresh in here. So it really shined this week out of season, you know what I mean, more than I thought I would use it.
Right.
So let's get into ECW calls. They're going to be at Elmwood this year. We're going to be there. They got back-to-back booths with Ingram. So if you guys you're local and you heard about ECW calls and you want to come check us out at the show, we'll be there probably playing with some turkey calls.
Yep.
Probably buying a couple and just talking deer hunting with people. And I'm going to tell them that, I'm not a big, like, this product made it for me or not, but I did grunt on an ECW call right before Mr. Freeze come in. So just shouting that out. I probably will showcase that buck with an ECW call because it was in my bag when it happened.
For sure.
Talk about Ingram's outdoor obsession. Went up there. Dude put in some work on a shop, man.
Yeah.
Next level. Went next level on the organization, and he's really starting to pump out the bucks now. Should be able to release some buck picks of some mouths.
Close.
Yeah.
I know one deer's done.
Yeah, I know one deer's done. Freaking crushed it. If no one's got a full sneak out there, I highly suggest getting a full sneak.
So I was telling the wife, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to get one like that now.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're gonna get one like this? It looks dumb." I'm like, "No, I'm probably gonna get one.
Yeah.
I'm getting one."
I like it a lot.
Yeah, it looks way better.
Yeah, you just so much. He just nailed so much detail in the throat and the ear, like how the ears are folded back, and he crushed it on that one. So, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. Yep. We're gonna talk to Cade and Brandon, spreading a lot of knowledge about scrapes. Hoping to have these guys back on here soon if they can get time in their schedule to do kind of a. We did their product podcast. We kind of want to do a fun with that one with them because they went out west elk hunting DIY and had quite the experience. So we're hoping to showcase that story with you guys here coming soon. So we hope you guys enjoy the show.
And don't forget about the giveaway in this one. We'll be running that through our Facebook page.
That's why he's here, to remember the stuff that I forget. Yeah, big thank you to Cade and Brandon. We didn't expect a giveaway like that, but they want to reach out and say thank you for letting them come on and give our listeners and our followers kind of a giveaway to spread their page and ours. So we can't thank them enough for doing that. And we hope to give them some content, too, if they're going to send one our way. Hopefully get some trail cam pictures for them and stuff. So
For sure.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. And here we go. All right, guys. We got Brandon and Cade on from Scrapestick. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. Doing well. Good. Yeah. Appreciate you guys having us on. Like Cody said, my name's Cade Hoppenworth with Scrapestick, and I've got my partner here,
Brandon Medlin. Thanks for having us.
Cade, that's a pretty sweet name.
It is.
Yeah.
That's nice. So. I feel like that could be in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it could be.
Is that? I've gotten that feedback. Yeah.
Go ahead and talk about maybe how long you guys been hunting, and do you guys hunt together a lot or separate or?
Yeah. So this is Cade. So we live here in Iowa, northeast Iowa, in the corner. I've pretty much started hunting traditionally with my family back when I was probably started in middle school. I'd say, guessing that's like 13, 14 years old. Deer hunting. Before that, I mean, I was avid, always, pheasant hunting, duck hunting, all of that stuff. But then kind of middle school, getting into high school, we started shotgun hunting. I mean, traditional deer hunting, I think, in a lot of families is you shotgun hunt. And then for me, from there, that passion really started to drive once I got introduced to bow hunting, probably middle high school at that point. It seemed like the whole bow hunting industry at that point really started taking off as well. And then I couldn't get enough of it. Skipping class in college, driving up an hour to northeast Iowa to jump in a tree during rut. And that's just, my mind just was all around trail cameras, deer hunting, and figuring out behaviors of deer, and to where we are today, I guess. So that's 20 years now, I guess, of deer hunting.
Yeah, it sounded like me and you would get along real good. So.
Yeah, guys, Brandon here. My story's not going to be that much different than Cade's. I think, in Iowa it is pretty normal. I think at that time we grew up, we're in our middle 30s now, and, shotgun hunting was the easiest way to get into the sport, and a lot of our families were doing that at that time. And Cade and I we didn't even meet till about 5-6 years ago. We started a nonprofit organization together, and we call it Impact Outdoors, and that kind of brought Cade and I together. But we spent some time in the field. I would say today, usually it's we're pretty territorial in Iowa in our spots where we hunt. I know Cade has got a lot of money invested into his farms, but he's been really good about always giving me the invite. But maybe I need to take up his offer more often. So we probably spend more time trying to chase coyotes late season on his farms than we do deer hunting together. But each of us, we've got our farms in northeastern Iowa that we hunt. Bow hunt, bow hunting for me has become probably my number one thing. And while we grew up hunting all this other game, it's truly our passion.
Yeah. And the other aspect of that too is, when you're talking family and friends, and the deer hunting aspect of it, even if we don't hunt together per se, you share tactics, ideas. You know, you show your buddies, you pull your phone out, show your trail camera pictures. I mean, it's just like this common, you know, topic that you're always talking about with all of your friends and family. You know, and kind of a back note too is you talk about, you know, how you grew up hunting, and I'm sure I'm like everybody else where, you know, when you started hunting shotgun season, you know, for us you have to wear your orange, but we'd meet for breakfast in the morning, you know, smelling like fried bacon and eggs, and we'd go directly to the deer stand. We didn't know anything about scent control, none of that stuff. We'd literally go out and shimmy up a tree and sit there on a 2x4 wedged in the trunk or a V of a tree kind of thing. And
you wonder how anybody got it done, huh?
But then you start to get consumed with it a little bit, and you start to just educate yourself, and you're continuously growing. And here we are in our 30s today, and we're still learning and growing. And I think that's the fun of the aspect of the sport, is that chess match that you're having out there with the game. And if you're really big into management or not, or if you're a meat eater, you know, we respect it all at the end of the day. You know, we're not one telling anybody that they shouldn't shoot anything or whatever it may be. That's all personal preference and what your availability is, time is, and what your experience with hunting is, I guess. So
sure, that's what we always say. It's a never growing addiction, because you can never know everything, and you can never be, you know, you can't be as good as a whitetail. You know what I mean? So that's why me and homie get addicted to it. We like a challenge, and this is the most challenging thing that we've ever done. You know, as growing up, we were kind of the same way. Started out small game and went to deer, and here we are, trying to shoot deer every year. But sometimes we don't always get there.
Yeah, you're not alone. Everybody, it's always funny. You know, we are at ATA, and you got everybody comes up and like, where y'all from? Like Iowa, the land of the giants. You know, and it's like, well, wait a second. You know, because I don't shoot a deer every year, and it's surely not over 150 inches every year when I do. You know, we do got some big deer in Iowa, but you know, we do got to work for it. I think we are privileged to be in this state. You know, it's the conservation has been great.
The DNR has done an amazing job with the management of our system. You know, unfortunately for out-of-staters, you know, it takes on average 3 to 4 years to draw a tag. Even if you're a landowner, you're not privileged to a tag as well. And then the other aspect too is we don't have a firearm season during rut, which also I think assists with allowing big bucks or I should just say bucks in general, to enable them to get to a mature age.
Yeah.
But I would say Iowa's probably similar to other states, though, that the average buck harvested is probably still under 3.5 years old. You know, so you know, to try to push to get deer to 4.5, 5.5, and like the celebrities try to do, you know, to those older ages, still is somewhat a task and a challenge in itself. So.
Yeah, I definitely like the gun season being outside the rut. It is a little later, but, you know, just like you said, it gives everybody a chance to do what they want to do and let them deer mingle around a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your guys' personal opinion on the 1 buck? You guys are liking that? I'm taking it.
So what, the 1 buck?
Yeah.
Well, so I'm a landowner in Iowa. So in Iowa right now, even as a non-landowner, you have the ability to buy 1 bow tag and then 1 gun season tag.
Okay.
And then as a landowner, you're able to buy an additional gun tag as well. So, you know, we do have options that, you know, you can technically shoot up to 2 bucks a year. You know, 1 with bow, 1 with gun. And then as a landowner, you have just a few extra abilities to purchase an additional tag. So
I see. That's good knowledge. I didn't know that. I thought it was two bucks and then, but just 1 with a bow, 1 with a gun. Learning stuff already. We're only 6 minutes in. All right. So you guys are the Scrapestick guys. So I know we got some knowledge on scrapes. So let's go ahead and dig into that. So around here, me and homie were talking about this. We see a lot of videos of like scrapes in the summertime and, you know, velvet bucks hitting them. So when do you guys put out your scrapes?
That's a great question, and we get asked that all the time. When do you guys start putting them out? You know, traditionally, or, you know, we like to start putting them out in July, towards the end of July. That's the same time frame where guys are out building their food plots and planting those fall plots, if it's turnips and radishes and maybe planting some fall clover or something. So it's a great time to also start those licking branch or mock scrape sites. Gets the deer familiar with them. Kind of, when you put something brand new in a deer's territory, they may be a little uneasy, so sometimes user experiences are a little different. But if you get that out nice and early, by the time September 1st or September 10th in the Midwest is a lot of times when those bucks are starting to break away from their bachelor groups, and they, essentially they've shed their velvet, they start breaking away from bachelor groups, and their testosterone levels are starting to increase at that point. And what's happening then is deer are starting to nonverbally communicate using scrapes and licking branches to disperse scent. And then as pre-rut, starts to approach, you're talking into the first part of October, middle of October, end of October, and into November, pre-rut to rut, that scrape activity really, really, really starts to rev up in the fact that scrape sites are amazing. It's an amazing tactic to understand and pattern deer, inventory them, and, try to position them, I guess, to harvest as well. So for us, I guess in a roundabout questions, we start in July, but, with that being said, though, research has shown that deer technically do use licking branches all year. It's just the frequency really revs up in that pre-rut to rut stage of things.
So as soon as you...
Stats that were put out were that, we're no biologists, right? And I don't think any of us would ever say I don't think there's anybody that has the perfect paper on deer and how they, use the nonverbals and what are they really getting out of the rubs or the scrapes and, but I do, we have read, and there's been a lot of studies that show 80% of the scraping that's happening, right, is happening through that pre-rut, the post-rut. Now, there's a post that we just put on our page. I think the jury put it out. We reshared it. Here it is. We're moving into February, and there's, a scrape site that's getting triggered again through the deer. So it's clear they use them throughout the year. The licking branches we don't really familiarize ourselves with them as much when we're out in the woods in off-season because we don't see the scrapes as much. But to Kate's point, deer, it is proven, deer still use those throughout the entire year as a way to continue to communicate with each other.
Yeah, I was on public late January, and one of the major feed fields, they leave some standing crop. There's a couple giant open scrapes, and in the snow, they stuck out like sore thumbs. And
I bet. I
was like, man, they're still hitting scrapes. It's January 18th, or it was close to the last day.
To also come back to scrapes, in traditional hunting terms, their thought process is, us as hunters, we go out to the field, right, and we try to go locate those scrapes first, right? So we have to go and figure out where the deer are using and making them, and then we get positioned by what the deer are dictating, essentially, right? So we go out and we get to this open ag field, and we're walking down the fence line, and we notice, hey, there's 5 nice scrapes in a row. I'm going to put a trail camera here and see what deer are using them, right? So that's traditionally the deer positioning us, or we're having to move to where they're going to be and what they're currently doing. But, as hunters have realized is, putting a trail camera over a scrape is a fantastic way to basically inventory the deer that are most likely home range deer and are using that area, especially pre-rut, that September, October. But come November, or even late October, you're starting to get those bucks that are wandering and doing that big loop, where they're stretching out 5 miles and they're doing a big loop to see the does or what does are coming into heat in the area. And so it's a great way to monitor what new bucks are coming into your area, or at least bring them to a focal point in front of your camera.
Yeah, for sure. We ran cameras over a couple scrapes this year and had pretty good luck. Had them hitting them really early in the daylight in the morning, which was really weird to us. It was like October 15th or 16th, and he was there on a frosty morning refreshing that scrape. And this is the first year we really ran him over, not like field edge scrapes, like security cover scrapes, and just pretty much left him run for months at a time until we went and hunt, just to get that, post-season evidence of what actually is happening on that scrape. And we had a ton of does hit that security cover one, just an insane amount. More does than bucks, I'd say.
That's interesting. Traditionally, you get a lot of activity through the night a lot of pictures you'll get through the night, or early morning, right at sunrise. Will be when most activities will happen. It seems like, excuse me. But that's not to say, after a front comes in or a rainstorm, and those deer get up off their beds, that they're going to go back out and refreshen the scrapes. And an easy way to put it, we say this all the time. What scrapes are is essentially, it's a fire hydrant for dogs. It's the easiest way to put it is that's a communication zone or a communication site that bucks and does, they all come and they disperse scent and they come back and they check it on a regular basis. And it allows you to start to pattern some of their movements, maybe how frequent they're coming back to that area. And then you can start to build some hunting strategy around that. From personal experience, the last 2 years, early season, this was October, and in Iowa, there's a week-long early muzzleloader tag that's usually around that October 15th. And at that point, scrapes are really ideal because what had ended up happening is both the 2 bucks I've harvested the last 2 years, those bucks literally were hitting the same scrape every day within an hour of each other for 5 days straight. And then here we are leading into the first opening day of muzzleloader season. Guess where I'm going to sit? I'm going to go sit over that scrape. That same buck has literally hit 5 days in a row. And here we go. We're sitting there in 2 hours into my hunt for the last 2 years. Guess who shows up? That same buck. So I harvested 163-inch 10 this year, and it was 152-inch 9-point last year. So
damn.
Yeah. Crushing
so,
some nice ones.
Literally, you can pattern deer and their movements and the frequency based off of scrape activity. So
I don't know if this is on our topic list here, but so I'm assuming you're running trail cameras over them to know that they're using the scrape. So how often are you checking them and to where you can notice that the deer aren't changing their routine? Because I feel like a scrape is an area that they're going to be like smelling heavily in, you know what I mean? So that's like me and homie, we're really like careful on scent control and how many times we check it. So what would be a good rule of thumb, you think, if you got a trail camera on a scrape?
So just from my personal experience, I move all my cameras. They're either positioned over food plots, and then we create a scrape in front of the camera. And so half my cameras are all cell-based, so I can just monitor them from my phone. And the other are, your Brownings of the world and just regular standalone cameras that I place out. And then I just typically, if I'm up hunting or every 3 weeks, maybe go check it out. And that's the frequency I like to check them. I don't like to get in there too often where I'm leaving a bunch of scent behind. But I'm more focused, too, on easy entry and getting in and out, essentially, as easy as possible, so I'm not bumping the deer and they're not getting educated on my patterns then at that point. If I'm constantly walking into an area, well, a mature buck's probably going to start to leave that area if they're constantly getting bumped and smelling human scent all the time.
Yeah, that's something we changed this year. We completely changed the access, and I think that's why we were so successful. We didn't even some of my stands I knew we couldn't access. This is the first year that I realized, I'm like, well, you can't even go to that stand. So I didn't even hunt it one time. So I just need to go take it down and move it. But that is key. I think even people think access to your stands, but you also got to think access to your cameras as well.
So really, actually, to segue almost into our product, I guess, is, so what is Scrapestick, right? Some people are probably wondering, what is it, So essentially what we've done is we've recreated the ability to place a mock scrape anywhere. So we've created a device where it could literally be mounted to a tree or strapped to a tree or screwed to a wooden post, but probably 70% of our users, they like the functionality where you can literally just place it over top of a metal T-post. So if you've got a 4-acre open field that you're hunting on a field edge, and you've got your camera shooting out into that field edge, how do you get those deer to draw into that one focal point right in front of your camera? Because they're going to come out in that field and feed. Well, how do you bring them, 10 yards in front of your camera so you get nice pictures? You can start to pattern them and track them. Well, the ability to just pound a T-post and literally recreate a mock scrape right in front of your camera creates a nice communication post. So essentially our product allows you to place a licking branch. So you'd literally cut a branch out in your woods, and you can place it in a device and then adjust it to the appropriate height, which would be about 4 feet off the ground.
Have you noticed any more success of what type of branch that you use?
That is a common question, and we've always kind of just told people, I think the great thing about our product is it creates ultimate user, functionality, or just the user can determine what they want to use. Personally, I like to use oak or bur oak, specifically bur oak, because oak limbs or oak trees, they hold their leaves extremely long, and a bur oak is more of a hardy wood, but it's very durable. It's just not going to snap. So it's a great licking branch or a type of tree that when you place that, the deer can thrash it, they can nibble on it, bite on it, pull down on it. And it's just not going to snap right away. But also the ability to hold its leaves longer, create a nice visual mask. So if a buck comes out in that field, they visually see it right away, and then they walk right towards it, and they just naturally take it over at that point. Now, Brandon, he likes to use other types of branches as well.
Yeah, so personally, I have a lot of cedar trees in the area, and cedars is, I think most of us know there's a lot of flexibility to them, and those needles, they hang on for quite a while as well. And so I've had a lot of success with it. I will say this, I've not had a branch not work. In the early days of us launching this product, there was a lot of testing, with different branches, and it was not just to see what the deer liked, but also to make sure that, our device was going to be able to work with all different types of branches, and when people do see the product, there's that metal jaw tooth that we did create. It's got 2 points of contact on it, really bites into them. Some branches over time, right, are going to, fray and fall apart much sooner than others. So that's kind of the story behind our jaw tooth and the way we designed it. But during that process, you can't help but notice, gosh, there's not a branch that's not working. The deer, I always say, whatever's natural to your area, go out. You know what branches they're using today in your area, and cut down something that's similar to what they're used to and what they're using today, and slide it in. And to Kate's point, we have the adjustable arm. You don't have to move the device up and down on a T-post. That arm is slick. You just take our knob, you loosen it. It's no different than a flagpole holder, right? And you just go ahead and adjust it so that it's at the right angle.
Yeah.
But the key here is really that jaw tooth. I think that's made a big difference for us.
The height of that branch. I would say more than the type of branch, but the height of what that branch hangs is so crucial. We've had some guys, they'll send us pictures, and I'd make one recommendation is to drop your branch. You're about 2 feet too high. They've got it angled where that branch is 6 feet off the ground. Well, a deer is relatively, when you're thinking where their head level is, where their eye level is, it's 4 feet off the ground. That branch, to get that ideal height, really needs to be 4 feet and not really any higher. So,
and we say that being in the Midwest too. Yeah. We understand, deer are going to change in size as you get down to the south, southeast, where we're at in the Midwest. It really comes down to know your deer, know the height, that's ideal for your area. But 4 feet, to Kate's point, that's really the baseline we always recommend with everybody. That's that middle of the ground area, and if you need to, drop it down a little bit. Rarely are we encouraging people to raise it. Usually people have they're challenged out of the gate usually by putting it too high. So, but 4 feet's a good way of general rule of thumb, I guess, is the best we would say there.
I think that's the great thing about your product, and why we like it is because we're just talking about access. Sometimes you might want to put a camera somewhere, like you said, on a field, and a farmer comes by and he's running a combine, so all the limbs are 25 foot tall, so he can get his combine through there. You can literally drive a T-post and put a scrape right where you want it and where you can have perfect access. Or if you're living in Georgia and all you got's pines, like you said, it's not some manufactured branch that you're selling with it. You use something in your woods that's natural to them already, that's going to hold scent just like anything else would, and you can adjust it to whatever area you're at. Because I think that's perfect. But the access selling point is really cool for us, because there's spots like up there like up there where we're going to put the food plot on Booner Towns North, if you wanted to do it anywhere on that creek draw up there on the north side of that, you couldn't do it. You couldn't put a scrape there because there's no trees.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, but it's a perfect place because we can drive our truck right there. Instead of taking the left and driving way down there, we could drive the truck right there and get the access that we need. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it is all scenario based for people, and we get asked that a lot. People would always tell us like, "Well, I hunt, we're deep in the woods in Virginia, or and I understand that. But when given the opportunity, where deer like path of least resistance too. They're no different than humans in that train of thought. And so we like
transition zones a lot too. So as you're leading from woods to a field or something like that, it just seems like that's where are their travel corridors at, and why are they coming and going? Are they leaving from bedding area to go to a food source? Are they going to a water source? Why are the reasons why they're traveling from point A to B, and trying to figure that out, I guess, with the whitetail patterns.
So I think to that point, just to kind of finish that thought there a little bit too, is a lot of times, even the Midwest, we do a lot of fields, whether it be food plots, you get your hay fields, and kind of those open areas, to Cade's point, the transition areas that are typically open. That's where guys like to hang their stands, right? Deer are going to try to take those corners where they can to cut through the field, as opposed to cutting through a thicket, if at all possible. So a lot of guys like to hang them on the field edges, and for us, there's no trees in those fields, right? And so as much as we like to get the pictures and the videos, because that's always fun, it helps us pattern, helps us understand the inventory that's on the farm. I started learning last year, having been in this product now with Cade for the better part of 4 years, I started learning, I kept getting popped in the stand. Every time that deer would come in, and we all like to hug that field edge as much as possible, because you start to slide back 2 trees, 3 trees, now your shooting lanes are getting more difficult. One of the tools, one of the tactics, I guess, that I started to implement was when they're coming into that shooting lane, that's exactly where I'm putting that, is right in that shooting lane. So when they're coming in, they got wandering eyes, they're looking around. That gives it a focal point. They're focused on that scrape site, right, as opposed to popping me maybe in a tree, right, with those little movements. You get busted, you're silhouetted. It's a great distraction tool, right? So we always call this an attraction, but it's also great for, that distraction category. So use it, so we always like to recommend, think about it like it's your strategy. Deer coming in that shooting lane, it's a good stopping point, but it's also a good distraction point too.
Yeah, it's definitely good.
You could literally place it at 25 yards and use it almost as a yard marker.
Yeah, we got a spot like that.
It's reference, that's 25 yards from me. That deer's 5 feet off of that, so that's a 30-yard shot, real quick without having to actually range it.
Yeah, we got a spot like that where we use a scrape for a yardage marker to where we know if he's there, he's within 20, so we're good to go. But I had that happen to me 2 years ago during bow season. I had a buck sneak in on me, real thick bedding area, and if he wouldn't have hit a scrape, there's no way I tried to get it on film. There's no way I could have got the camera on him, got my bow out, and did all that if he wasn't focused on that scrape instead of, focused on looking around and trying to be aware of his area. Because when they're hitting a scrape, like you said, they're just thrashing around. They're not really focusing. They're making a lot of noise. They can't hear what you're doing. So it's a perfect time to draw on a deer or maneuver a camera or whatever you need to do on the deer to make the shot.
Exactly right.
So you guys are going around, making mock scrapes, and are you putting any scent in your scrapes, or on the field edge you're leaving that one just bare, or in a security cover you're putting some scent in there, or have you guys done any experimenting like that?
Well, that's a great question. Like I kind of mentioned before, the great part about the product is it allows the user to determine what they want to do. We're not a scent company, so we don't push a scent on anybody or anything like that. We created a product that allows you to recreate a mock scrape. A lot of the footage like that you saw at ATA and the content that's on our social media, all that content is done without any scent. So once we place it out there, the deer start taking it over. They're dispersing their own scent on it, and then they take it over after that. Now, with that being said, we're not against it. If a user wants to try any type of scrape enhancer or anything like that, I would encourage it, and I would also say that some people may believe that it may allow that deer to find it faster. We're not, but we're either way on it. We don't push either way. Like I said, all the content that we've provided has all been scent free, and just let the deer naturally take it over themselves. Yeah,
that's kind of like ours. We don't use any scent in ours, but we have created mock scrapes, and it was key to me shooting the deer I did this year was a scrape that was just a reoccurring scrape. And they actually broke a limb off it last year, and I didn't know if they're going to use it again. And then they started using a higher one. But if they had broke that limb, I mean, your product would be perfect to screw right on that tree, and it'd been like it never happened. So they would frequent it again, like they had in the past. So
make sure that I'm glad you brought that up. It's a very valid point. And as our product, it's still an active scrape site. It's something that they're using. They want to continue to use it. But when that branch breaks, that's where we recommend to people. That's what that screw option is really for. It's like, listen, if you've got a really good scrape site going, guys, like keep it there, right? Don't move it around every year. Keep it there. The deer are already trained to go there. So what you're able to do is keep that in place even after they break the natural branch, right?
Yeah.
And by doing you can strap it still, but the screw holes with the 4 pilot holes that are on the product, that's what that was really intended for. So if you've got that stand placement, that's just money, right? It's lights out every time you sit it on, Halloween night, right? Like that's where you want to keep that scrape site. So I'm glad you brought that point up because we do share that suggestion with a lot of people.
It's a common thing that happens all the time. Those deer are going to break that branch.
Yeah.
And that happens, and with our product, the versatility allows you to remove the broken branch and simply place a new one in there virtually in seconds.
Yeah, when I look at a product, I automatically start thinking about how I could use it, you know what I mean? And when I seen it, I was like, oh, man, that would work really good for this spot, that they broke the branch and now they're not using because they no longer have a licking branch. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's all key. And like you say, when you go out and you start to create some mock scrapes, maybe you go out there and you find that low-hanging branch and previously, and then you're removing all that the grass from underneath it and creating a 2 or 3 foot circle underneath it, where they're going to come and start taking it over, and they'll urinate down on the ground below it. They'll rub their face into the branch, rub their preorbital glands on the limbs and things like that. So.
Yeah, and then I guess you could also if you had a spot, we have some spots that you start. It's like just a pop-up scrape, you know what I mean? It's like something that just happens, and then you can tell that it's not getting hit a lot. Well, when I first seen your product, I was like, what would be better than if I went – so I had a scrape there, it's maybe there for a week, and now it's gone, but the limb's still there, so that scent's still holding that or the limb's still holding the scent. What's better than going up there, cutting that limb off, and making a scrape where you want one, and then you have a limb that's already got all the natural scent of the bucks in your area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what's interesting, and I don't know if I mentioned it before or not, but when I put those cameras out on my farms, I bet you I had within the first 3 weeks of September and October for home range deer, I bet I have 75 to 85% of those bucks I'll have on camera. So I'll pretty much know basically about every buck that's kind of in the area in a pretty short amount of time because at the end of the day, deer use licking branches as a communication device. And in pre-rut and rut, they use it frequently. So it's a great way or a great tool to figure out what deer are on your property in a short amount of time.
And there'd be a lot of guys, right, that are probably listening to this too that would say, well, I've already got a lot of scrapes and I put my cameras over them and, and that's all fine. I think, what our product really plays too is, we go back to put it anywhere, right? Because I will tell you, I found the best scrape sites in the world, right, that I know the deer are using, but I don't have the option of hanging a stand by that scrape site with the right wind and everything, you know what I mean, to have that perfect shot. Just because the tree options we would have are not, ideal. So, the idea with this, putting it anywhere, it's like start with where do you want to sit, right? And where's that perfect tree that you're going to hang that stand? Then go ahead and set that scrape site. So, it's another, I think, good thing to offer up here, because that is something that we get, people rebuttal all the time is, I got a lot of scrapes already on the farm. I hang my cameras on them. I'm like, well, that's fine. But, those guys that are hunting over field edges or near fields, this is where there's no trees. If you want to have that open field shot, put it out there. I promise you it's going to suck them out there. And you can put your cameras out there, obviously. That's the best part about these, right, is taking inventory and getting the good footage. But, again, from the tree stand, where do you want your stand, then place that scrape site, as opposed to trying to, wrestle the idea of getting a stand in a tree that you'd rather not be in, because that's where that scrape site's at.
And to kind of feed off of that a little bit, common question is, well, how many do you recommend out there? Really, there's no recipe for that, or there's no exact number. I mean, literally, you're creating a communication site. So if you want to put, one in every single food plot you have to create a focal point for deer to come to in every single food plot. I've got a 4 acre open field, and I've got 2 of them. I got one on each end, because the deer come out on one side or they'll come out on the other side. So I've got them where they'll stop at those sites, basically in 2 different points of the field. So there is no exact number, but like I said, you can put as many of them out there as you want to. And you see it in nature. You'll walk to one tree, you'll find a scrape. You'll walk 15 more yards, and you'll find another one not too far away as well. So,
yeah, I don't think there's really a pattern to. I mean, I think they do it where does are. I understand that they do it where the does are, during the rut and stuff. But I don't think there's like a pattern where the buck's like, well, I'm gonna make 3 scrapes, or he's just thrashing around and doing his thing, But I like that you said in a field, because scrape trees are a huge thing, and I don't think I'm a lazy hunter at all. I put a ton of work in, but I just have never been like, I'm going to go dig a hole and cut down this tree and then put this tree in the ground for a scrape. But with this, you drive a T-post, you put a tree limb in it, and then you have a scrape tree out in the middle of a field, like you said. And I could see like 2 different ends where you might need 2 of them out there for a different wind. You might be able to hunt the field on one wind, on a north and on a south, and that's drawing them out from that security cover. Because you know what big deer do? They hang on the edge, and then they feed just right there on the edge so they can pop back in. But if they have something to pull them out to where you can get that good shot, and like I told you before, your product sells convenience. And for working guys like us that have kids and wives that don't get a lot of time, sometimes you can't go out there and even find the scrapes. Some guys don't even have the time to go find the scrapes, So, boom, let's just create one right here and be done with it, you know what I mean? Your product would have been huge for us this year on one of the... We got a brand new piece. Instead of walking the whole piece and trying to scout it, we could have put one of those up and said, we're going to put a mock scrape here and figure out what bucks we got on this property to even see if it's worth our time to hunt it.
Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. And, I know Kay just kind of spoke up there a little bit too. So, and, we put a lot of work into this and, to try to drive down our cost of manufacturing, but not sacrificing quality, right? We always said quality is going to be our priority. If that costs us a little bit more on the production side of it, that so be it. But we're happy to, bring that product to market at $34.99. Listen, we're guys that, before this idea, I mean, there's a lot of stories. We need a lot more time than what's probably on this podcast to sit around and talk about the crazy stuff we did with, cutting down trees, replanting trees, from the zip ties to, flagpole holders that have a set screw, and it's like, in theory, I get it, right? Because we got it at that one point. We were doing it, right? But each one of them come with its own challenges, and time is certainly one of those challenges. And it doesn't take long for those branches to break, that thing to fall over, that zip tie to snap in the cold or something hits it. So when that branch is done, how much time do you got, and how much more material do you got to keep bringing out to the field? So for us, we tried to simplify it. Those guys that are doing it still today, kudos to them. We get behind those guys because we like the idea of building those mock scrapes and using them to your advantage. But we hope our product, finds its way into a lot of those guys that are struggling, where I'm tired of replanting the tree, exactly to your point. Because that's who we were, and that's where we came from. That's what we were doing, and we're always transparent about that. There's no hidden secrets. And, so at $34.99, we feel really good about it. As we come into 2020, we're working on some really cool stuff to hopefully, even bring something a little more interesting to the marketplace, to kind of keep building on this concept. So, I'm glad you brought that point up.
Yeah, I think it's a good price, and I held it at ATA, and I was like, this is going to be out in the weather, this is going to be in the cold, and it's really well built. You didn't skimp on the quality, so when I got to hold it, I was like, I could see it working, but I need to make sure it's not some fly-by-night, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of companies that sell a product, and they claim this, and then it works for 2 days, and then it's done, you know what I mean? So I really filled it over there, and I was like, man, this is heavy. I feel like I could throw it on the ground and not break it. You know what I mean? So
I'll tell you can, because the first thing I did with Cade, right? I got a product management background, and so I thoroughly want to test everything, right? So I put it in my freezer at home for a week. This was in our prototype, and then I went outside and I started smoking this thing off the concrete, just wanting to see what was going to be the first thing that broke. You know. It gets scarred up, but nothing broke, So I was thoroughly happy with that. And we're in I don't know where you guys are at, but we're like -30, I think, this week. And Kate just put a post out on our page the other day, like, hey, anybody who's challenged us in cold weather, right? Like, because our products stand up. If you get colder -32, you shouldn't be deer hunting anyways. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
But the deer are still coming in; they're still hitting them, and the products are standing up. So we're really happy with the quality.
Nice. So, I kind of want to go over. You guys are a fairly new company. I don't know. You said you released this October. I know you've been, making your design for a couple years, but what's some of the challenges of being a new product in the hunting industry? And to go on to that, me and homie, like, ATA was our first like big dive into the hunting industry, and there was a lot going on. So I could imagine for a company that's trying to break into it, we're just like a media outlook, so we don't really have customer service or anything like that, you know what I mean? And if we do, we just put them in a file and we don't even look at them. But what's some of the challenges that you guys have faced?
I guess any startup company faces these challenges, right? It's all about bringing the product to market is always going to be the first challenge, right? At what point are you ready to go to market? Are you happy with what you've got? This next thing is really kind of building the relationships. What are the right relationships that you want to build on with your product, and whether that be partnerships, that be the vendors, listen, there's a lot of great influencers on the media side that are out there, and we want to support them, and we want to be able to leverage that in this industry. And so we've been spending a lot of time trying to, kind of have those conversations. I think there's a lot of great people, but you also, like any business, you want to do business with people that are like-minded and share the same values. And so that's been kind of we've known the hunting industry, but as a consumer. So being on the manufacturing side of this, there's I would say relationships second to obviously building the right product and bringing it to market. That's kind of been
to tie off building that right product. Like Brandon said, we took 4 years to really troubleshoot this, because we're really concerned about doing the right thing, making the right product, and not rushing it as well. We wanted to make sure it was done right. And, so once we got to the point where we kind of launched and came to market, so right now we just pretty much have a social media presence and an online presence. We're not in any retailers yet. But those conversations after the ATA show are starting, which, looking back at ATA, that was our first experience as well. And kind of what was our thoughts to it is, wow. I mean, for a business-to-business convention, a ton of people, a lot of great people we met, a lot of great opportunities are starting to present itself. Now, we were in the innovation zone, and you guys were there. You get to see all the big players out in their big booths. And then in the corner, you got all these kind of startup companies, with the neat ideas, and they're trying to get going and trying to branch out into this industry. And we were in there, and we didn't know what to expect. And we were very pleasantly surprised that, the amount of foot traffic that came through, the responses we got from all the people like you guys yourself that stopped by the booth, and we were to share, 3 to 5 minutes with each person coming by and getting feedback. That was really validating to us as our takeaway, I guess, from the ATA show. And now we're hitting the ground and focusing on some of the other trade shows that are coming up this season. So.
Yeah, the Innovation Zone, me and Homie didn't even touch half the show probably because we had, stuff to do at booths and meetings with people and buddies that we wanted to hang out with. But I made it a point. I was like, we got to go through the Innovation Zone because, that's like a big step for the companies that are there, and I think that's what I want to see. I know that there's going to be a new trail cam or a new blind or something, but I want to see the new stuff that comes out that you never heard of. And I think on our end, like the media side, that's what people want to see too. If there's a new product that doesn't have a lot of traction because they're new, that's why we reached out to you, is because we think you guys have a good product. We like what you're doing, and you guys deserve to get out. You know what I mean?
Well, we appreciate that. Yeah, we appreciate it because having guys like you. Here's we're on the phone, right? And I would say, anybody who's listening, that happened to be there too, and decided to come to the Innovation Zone, I want to say thank you because there's a lot of great people in the Innovation Zone, and they're putting all of the cash. Some people, the retirement, they're putting into a dream that they have with their product, and there is a lot of really neat stuff in there. So thank you for anybody who came to the the Innovation Zone, and especially thanks to ATA for doing it because it does give a platform for a lot of startup companies to get in there. And I'll tell you, Cade and I were actually really surprised at some of the people that came through there from some of the largest, I would say, brands in this industry. And that means a lot to us. It means a lot to the other companies that are in the Innovation Zone. And to get their feedback, it's all great feedback. There's no real bad idea because it's all new and it's all starting to get validated. But we really enjoyed it. We hope we get a chance to do it again next year. We'll see how this year goes. But yeah, all in all, I think it was good, and we're happy you guys came through there.
So you guys mentioned some other trade shows. Do you have anything lined up so maybe that a listener is could meet you guys and actually see the product on hand?
Yeah, so our next trade show right now, Kate and I, we committed coming into this year, we're going to do the Iowa Deer Classic. It's really in our backyard. It's a big show. It's a consumer show. We will be at that show. ATA, obviously, we just wrapped up. There's a couple others we are looking into here, mostly in the Midwest, I would say.
Wisconsin. Later in the year, I think a Deer and Turkey Fest in Wisconsin. We're looking into possibly trying to get a booth there. We're a little bit behind the eight ball this year on that kind of planning. But the Deer Class should be our first stop, though. That comes the first week in March.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that listen to this that are going to the Deer Classic. There's a ton. So, and a lot of people ask if we're going to be there, and we don't know if we're going to make it or not because there's another show that we go to every year. We've been for a long time, and they scheduled it the same weekend. So I'm like, oh, man. So we're going to try to make it to both, but we'll see what happens.
Well, if you do stop by and say hi again, and we should have we had a guy from Kansas shot a 203, and he was trying out a product, and he went and put it out in his food plot, and he said in 3 days that deer had started to hit that scrape.
Wow.
And then he was able to harvest that deer later in the season. So it was pretty cool, but we'll have that deer on display, which would be pretty neat.
Yeah, full body mount.
Sweet.
Full body mount.
Full body, man. He went full send, huh? Man.
203, I'll probably invest in a full body mount too. But he did us a nice thing. He's actually got that deer mounted with his head straight up, right into a licking branch.
Oh, so, nice.
Awesome guy and awesome deer that he shot, and we look forward to having him there with us at the Deer Classic in Iowa.
I shot a 192. I ain't going full body. 200, I might. 200, I'll go full body, I guess. Short 8 inches and $8,000. So, but yeah, man, full body into a licking branch. That's a pretty sweet mount. That's kind of a little bit similar to what I'm doing with my buck that I shot this year because the most pictures that we got of him were on a scrape. So, and that's kind of how we patterned him was through scrapes. So, some people say...
Well, listen, I would like to, I know one thing we can do as a follow-up to this, too, and, we would be willing to throw out for you guys and those that are listeners, I think Kate and I can mutually agree right now, we would be happy to throw out a couple giveaways. If there's a couple free products we can send out to your listeners, if we can find something after this to reach out where we can do some sort of process, whether it's likes, shares, whatever. We'll let you guys run it, but we're happy to throw out a couple free products to your listeners, and you guys can kind of manage that giveaway.
Oh, nice, man. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
People love free stuff, and when it's a quality product, they get behind it even more. So, and I think a lot. I mean, it's good that you guys are new, also, because there's that, like, I don't know, there's the fresh factor where people are like, man, I just want to try this out, you know, and see what it's like. So I think we need to get a couple and try them out and see what we think next year, and get them in the field.
We'll get you guys taken care of too.
Get some picks for you guys at least. So what you hinted a little earlier of maybe a future product that you had. Is that something that you can release, or is that something kind of hidden, or?
We'll keep that in our back pocket.
Okay, we've had multiple people say that, and I always ask the question. I'm like, I know the answer.
A little early, but we've got it's in the works, and we're fine tuning some things. And it may be at ATA next year in our
nice.
As well with
right.
the Scrape.
Well, we'll be at ATA, so if we don't run into you at the Iowa Classic, we'll definitely see you there.
Yeah. As you go, the question you guys asked, right? This is what we're talking about with the new design is exactly the right answer. Part of the challenges of being a new company in this industry as a manufacturer, you got to be agile. You do have to be quick. And when you have a really good idea, right, you're going to, while this product is patent pending, but we are expecting to see, some new competition arise next year, and we're trying to stay ahead of that, right? And that comes down to innovation, to keep innovating, keep enhancing, keep listening to your customers. What is their feedback? How can we help them? And that's what we're doing right now. We're listening to what happened last year. We're listening to the folks at the show. That's the people we're serving. And, so all feedback is good feedback, whether it be good or bad. And that's what I think we're running with here, and we look forward to having something really neat for 2020.
And I'm excited for you guys, yeah. We're looking forward to it. Like you said, anything in this industry, you got to be before anybody else, and it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and I feel why you guys didn't want to announce it, but I had to ask. You know, what I mean, I'm a nosy individual when it comes like that.
Yeah.
So
hey, listen, I trust you guys, right? My competitor may be listening, and we love everybody in this industry. It's full of great people. It really is. I mean, at all of our core, right? We all enjoy this passion, and I think we can all mutually respect each other with that. But it's a competitive industry, and you got to be agile and. Protect your IP. Do the best job you can do there, and keep moving.
Yeah.
That's advice I can give at this point.
So, where can people find more info about Scrapestick?
Scrapestick.com. My partner here, Kay, does an awesome job, obviously, on Facebook. So check us out, Scrapestick on Facebook as well as Instagram. And then our website has a platform there. If you guys want to reach out, if you got questions, there is, you can reach out to us through the website or social media too. We do respond to people that reach out through social media. Everything we're doing today, guys, is direct. We had a great show at ATA, so Kate and I are still working through some pieces, but there's a good chance the Scrapestick could wind up on some shelves near you, depending on where you live. So as we work through those, we'll be happy to kind of announce those partnerships later. I would say as we get closer to late spring, as we're heading into summer, those things will get solidified. So today it's all direct. It's on our website right now. But again, hopefully we find some shelves here later this year too.
Okay.
Yeah, the social media presence is great for your viewers or your listeners to go check us out. Instagram's a great tool that if somebody's curious of how deer respond, we've got a number of videos on there, showing deer interaction with scrapes that we've got on T-posts, on wooden posts, mounted to trees, and it's kind of entertaining to watch. So hopefully listeners can take bits and pieces from today's podcast and maybe enhance their hunting scenario just a little bit. I guess that's our goal. Is we're trying to make everybody or educate to make, I guess, hunters
A little better one step at a time. That's kind of what we try to do. Sometimes we go the opposite direction, I think. But
yeah, there's a lot of interesting things out there that can set you in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I think we've all tried some. But
yeah.
we feel good about it. This is all natural for us. I mean, there's some noise out there today with some of the other attractants in the marketplace. Kate and I feel really good about where we stand with our product. So it can be available to all states, right? There's no issues with any regulations that are in place or are coming in place. So this is a great tool for some of you that are faced with some of those challenges. We would suggest you look into it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Scrapes isn't a new concept, right? I think we all been doing them for years. This is just a device. I'm gonna steal your guys' word that just gives convenience.
Yeah, convenience is what your guys are selling. A time saver and convenience is what I mean, and that's what when I seen their product, I'm like, yeah, man, a T-post takes 30 seconds to drive a T-post in Illinois because we ain't got no rocks. So 30 seconds. I mean, and you got your base for a scrape tree and a food plot. So,
right.
And we're gonna put an acre and a half of beans in next year, and we need a way to get them towards one area where our blind's gonna be set up. So that'd be a perfect spot to throw one of those up, and we know they're hitting scrapes up there anyways in that area. So it'll just blend right in and be another tool in the arsenal to try to kill big buck is the way I look at it.
Oh, we'll put 30 of them in there. We'll give them a nice little runway right into that blind.
All right, guys. Well, I think we'll end it here. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, likewise. Hey, we appreciate you having us, guys. This has been great. And if you make it to the Deer Classic, make sure you stop by, say hi, and we'll follow back up with everybody that's listening, following your podcast. Make sure that we throw a couple free products out there to the listeners.
Well, we appreciate that. All right, man. There's a lot of knowledge about scrapes in that one. I'm excited to get the product and try it and see. We know a perfect spot to do it on the north side of the food plot. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be fun to try it out, run a camera on it, and see what it does.
Yeah, we talked, last year about this time about stepping up our game on the preseason mock scrapes, and we didn't really do it, even though we did find a perfect opportunity to do it. But hopefully this will get us a little bit more motivated this year and really follow through with it and get some good results in the summer.
I think up on the north we could use a cedar limb because there's so much cedar up there. I think that'd be a perfect opportunity because there was some scrapes up there just to move it out to be able to get that where they would come into that scrape and then turn broadside out of the blind. So I'm super excited about that. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Get out there and shed hunt. Take your kids when it warms up. Take your dogs, let them get out and run around. Try to leave a legacy, and Whitetail Legacy is out.